Welcome to DC Boxing Legends, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host tonight, Ray Massey, along with co-host Rashid Hammond. And tonight we have a special guest. He goes by the name of Barry Hunter. How you doing, Barry?
Ray Massey and Rashid Hammond. Boy, I didn't know my Friday was going to turn out like this, man.
Yes, indeed.
What a blessing, bro. I'm so happy to talk to y'all.
Yes, indeed, brother. Likewise.
Hey, Barry, you know how we get down here. It's straight to business when we got an OG in the office.
Let's do it.
Hey,
Headbanger style, baby.
That's
Yes,
right.
indeed.
That's right. Let's get it. Barry, hey, for those who don't know who Barry Hunter is, and I know it's hard to be in this area and not know who you are. You've paved the way for so many coaches and so many fighters. Really briefly, man, just tell me what inspired you to get into boxing in the first place.
Well, Rashid can attest to this. He was a little boy at the time, and we had a mutual friend, which was like a big brother to Rashid, named Curtis Bonham.
Yes, indeed.
And at that time, I was training at number 14 Boys and Girls Club. You know, I had actually got introduced to boxing at Benestard Rec Center. So this was all on the south side of DC. I lived on Ridge Road. And at the club, which was back then in Greenway Shopping Center, which became Discount, Discount Mart or something
Discount
like that?
Mart, yeah.
Discount Mart afterwards. Well, at that time, it was number 14 Boys and Girls Club. And one day in training, there was a young man named Marvin Lee. He's from around the way. And he was a martial artist. And he came over to the boxing side. And you know how the gym was, Rashid.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in, you got the main rec room. You got boxing over to your right and weightlifting and karate on to your left. And so he came over. I knew him from around the way. And he wanted to get into boxing and asked me would I help him, you know, and it was crazy because I told him, man, I don't know nothing about coaching nobody. A coach not here, you know what I mean? I said, the only thing I can do is show you what I know, you know, and that's about it. And so he came, he started coming every day. I would get there either a little earlier than a coach, and we would go with combinations, things of this nature. He's a real quick learner. And so what I ended up doing once he joined the team, I ended up putting his punch selections into numbers, 3, 2s, 1s, 6, you know, what have you. And only him and I would know what we were talking about, you know, and I did that because I didn't want to step on the coach's toes. I knew my place. And lo and behold, when we turned him loose, he had his first fight down at Seat Pleasant Rec Center. And he stops this kid in the first round. And I've been chasing that high ever since. I was about 17 and a half to 18 years old. And that's how I started.
Wow.
Hey, man, speaking of the high in boxing, man, what was, if you were in an elevator, right?
Uh-huh.
And you know, those elevators, that it ain't a long time before you get to the floor you're going. We're going to the 8th floor. A quick elevator breakdown of your highest accomplishments and some of the great achievements you've done in your career. What would you say they'd be?
Well, of course, the greatest compliment in my career was when we first won a world title, and not only win a world title, but we won it in DC. For years, just like anybody else, especially coming out of these hoods that we've been in, it was only a dream. And, people can tell you about these things, but it was unbelievable to us. And actually, in a lot of our eyes, it was unreachable. But the day we did that here in the city, I'm just a kid that came out of the projects. You know what I mean? And had a young man that came out of a shelter situation. And to come from that and get all the way up to the world title again and win it this time, it was just unbelievable, man. It was, I can't even describe the feeling, you know, and I wish that everybody, you know, regardless of what it is you're into, get a chance to experience something like that at least once in their life. You can't describe it.
It was electric, Barry.
It was.
And just for the record, that was the first and last time I ever paid for a VIP ticket and get that close to the ring. And it was an honor, man.
And Ray, Man, I'm gonna say this, and if you notice, like you said, I went all the way from the basement all the way to the top of the elevator. When we came here in DC, keep in mind we had been road warriors at the time. Our path has never been smooth. It's always been a rough road. Why God put us on that journey, I'll never know. You know what I mean? But in negotiating that fight, I was literally in camp, myself, Lamont, Earl Spence, that whole Olympic team, Adrian Braun, Sean Porter, Kenny Porter, Freddie Roach. You know, it was so many of us in camp in Colorado Springs. We took all the pros up there to help the athletes on the Olympic team get ready for the games. And Freddie, believe it or not, while we were I was in negotiations, sitting on the floor talking to Richard Schaefer from Golden Boy. Freddie was in the ring with Lamont working mitts with him, which was crazy. And so Richard Schaefer says to me, he said, Barry, what do you think about bringing Con Lamont to DC? And I said, well, Richard, I said, we've been on the road so long. I said, I don't know, if it would be too overwhelming for us to come home like that. The pressure might be too great. I said, but I'll check with Lamont. I'll give you a call and I'll let you know. And so I hung up the phone. Lamont and Freddie were still in the ring working mitts. And I called Lamont. Finally, when I talked to him, I said, man, they talking about bringing the fight here to the city. We got it. And he was happy. I was happy. In my heart, in my soul, I knew we wanted to come here anyway. That was always the dream. But I wasn't going to tell them that. And so the fight was on. And once we walked into that arena that night and seen all those people, now, I'm going to keep it real with you. You know and I know. Y'all know this game. You know people. Everybody didn't show up to see us win that thing. A lot of people didn't think we could win it. To be honest with you. Most showed up to see us lose so they could say, I told you so. You know what I mean? But I needed them there. They were even more instrumental and more important to me than the people that was pulling for us. That motivation is what really took us over the top. You know what I mean? Had they said, or had they had an attitude like, okay, we got this, we might not have pushed as hard. But just knowing, people are in your midst from your own city. You feel me? People that you're fighting for. Didn't want to see you succeed, gave me all the motivation in the world. And that youngster that night was special.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, Barry, when he won that title, man, I can say that was like I won the world title because I remember it from day one.
Yes, sir.
So like I tell Lamont and Anthony all the time when I talk to them, I say, every time when y'all want fighting on TV and fighting, it's like me and Hakeem still fighting. So
that's right.
You can say we stopped fighting, but we still fighting when we see y'all because we know it from day one.
Absolutely.
Where y'all came from.
Absolutely, Rashid, and I appreciate that. And the thing is, too, and I want to touch on this also, even though you had people pulling against you, we had so many people worldwide pulling for us.
Oh, yeah.
You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
Worldwide. We're in D.C., and I love the city. Born here, more than likely going to die here. But on the flip side of that, this whole thing was bigger than us. It was bigger than Lamont. It was bigger than me and Anthony and Boogie. It was far bigger than us.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Why God picked us to do what we did, I'll never know. You know what I mean? And it was never a smooth road. I mean, we still fight these battles right now to this day.
Oh, yeah.
But nevertheless, in life, you have a choice. There is no end game. There's only the fight or the submission, and you got to choose which one you want to do.
There it is.
I choose to fight.
Wow. And let's talk about that, man. What is it that makes Barry Hunter, man? I always notice things about certain coaches, right? The best ones, they able to squeeze that little bit extra out of a fighter that sometimes the fighter doesn't even know he has. Rashid, your father had that. But Barry, absolutely. I mean, at a time of crisis, when a fighter's in the ring, he got cracked a couple times. sometimes I can't tell if you're telling a joke or if you're trying to make me madder, but it boosts my confidence because it takes my mind off of the panic that I'm going through. Talk about that. How do you come up with tactics to get your fighter back into the game?
I tell you this, and let me say this. God made all of us, and he make us in a certain way. You know, I'd be lying if I sat here on this bed and tell you that I always knew that this is what I was going to do and this is how I was going to do it. I told you in the beginning, this thing that we into for us on my end, never been smooth. It's always been a battle from start to right now where we are. And we still fighting. I know Ray Massey. I've been on journeys with Ray Massey. Ray Massey did a stint in that headbanger crew too. You got some of that DNA in you also. Rashid and Hakeem was two of the best young fighters that the city had to offer at that time. And a lot of people don't know that because they don't know these guys. You know what I mean? And so when you get into it, I could not teach Rashid like I could teach Ray, or Ray like I could teach Joseph over here, or Steven like I could teach Ben. All of these are different people. So you got to tap into what will make that individual special, learn that individual, then you will know exactly how to push them. Either slowing them down or speeding them up. Can I be more aggressive with this one? I have to be a little bit less aggressive with that one. The problem is a lot of times when you rear these fighters or some of these athletes in general, we can't teach and train and show every fighter the same because they're not the same. Some have a little bit more agility. Some may have a little bit more speed. This one may have more power. This one may have the gift of balance or coordination. So you tap into these things to find out, how can I make this person better? What can I do to make? And prime example, we had a young kid in the gym. Growing up, he was timid, used to cry a bunch, the whole nine, right? I never thought that he would continue on to be a fighter. That same young man right now today fought in Olympic trials, one of the top fighters in the country, and he's doing the damn thing. But there was a time and place to push him out there. I didn't want to push him out before it's time. Now, doing situations like this, Rashid and Ray, y'all both know, some fighters feel as though they holding me back. They ain't spending enough time with me, he ain't pushing me far enough. You feel me?
Yeah.
No, it's not that. It's about protecting. It's about the love of the athlete. I would be remiss if I sent you out there before your time. If you couldn't hold your hands up right, if you couldn't box right, if you couldn't hold yourself in the trenches, and you go out there and you get hurt, then that would totally be on me.
Man, that's deep, man. I can relate because it's a very fatherly kind of feel to it. I'll be honest, outside of my dad, Rashid's father, it was more of he's just kind of a father figure to me, you know what I'm saying?
Good man.
He didn't want to see me get hurt. I remember the day he told me to walk away from the sport, and I was like, man, what you talking about? For years, I always thought, man, I'm not good enough. And that wasn't it. He came back to me, I think it was before he passed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rashid.
Yeah, it was before he passed.
He was just like, hey, man, above anything, I wanted y'all to be great men, you know?
He was that type of man. He was that type of man. I bear witness to him. And let me say this. He was a man. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
He was a Webster, man.
And I'm speaking of the dictionary, Webster would define a man as one that has male genitalia. You know, but you got a lot of people out there with that and don't live as a man.
Yes, indeed.
This was a man. You feel me?
Yeah.
And that's why I respected him so much, man. He was one of the ones that I really, really respected. He was a good man.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate that, brother.
You know, that's from the heart. And in Ray's case, I remember, you know, of course I get stories about all of you guys because we've traveled a lot. We've been in the trenches. Y'all was there literally when that headbanger, that whole just movement started from ground zero with nothing.
Amazing. It was amazing.
Yes,
I was
indeed.
just
Nothing.
talking about
In the
it.
bowels of Lincoln School, and we shared that space with the cockroaches and the mice and the rats. You know what I mean? And that's true. And the crazy part about it is outside of the gym. Now you're dealing with that inside of the gym. Outside of the gym, you had the Dominicans, you had the El Salvadorians, you only had a few Mexicans, you had the Ethiopians, you had the Asians, you had a couple of whites, and the rest blacks. All these had their own little mob. They all played basketball on their own side of the court. And if you didn't belong up there, it was going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I came up
I
with.
remember it.
You remember that?
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? When Ray came up to the gym, you know what I mean? It's the same. It was no different with Ray. You know, I would watch over him just like a hawk. When he fought in Atlantic City, see if y'all remember this one. We fought in the regionals in Atlantic City. Ray fought the little guy from Virginia that we used to laugh at his headgear.
Yeah, Norman.
You remember that? Norman. That's
yes,
right.
Indeed.
And before Ray went in there, we always telling Ray, look, man, he don't have the best style, but the dude can crack. Keep your hands up. Remember that, Ray?
Yeah, I remember that.
And he cracked you.
It cracked me hard. I mean,
He cracked you hard. And you was hurt.
Y'all told me
Yes.
that, but then,
And then you got on that dog, that mold, and hit that switch, came all the way back and crushed him. Same thing with Boogie. Boogie get 2 8 counts, come back, man, and was on that dude, man, and broke him down. And those were the DC fighters and the DC fights that I would never ever forget, man.
yeah, it's hard to explain, man. You can make a movie out of those things, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
On one end, and this again goes to what I say of how a coach can talk to you, because I don't think in my interviews I've ever given Mr. Brown enough credit. I mean, I credit Tom as much as I credit Kevin. To be honest, because I remember stepping in that ring. Had Tom told me that Norman was undefeated and he's 15-0 and had 15 knockouts, it would have been a different fight. It would have been a different fight. But he never told me that.
Right.
And matter of fact, Kevin told me, go in there and don't let that little MFer hit you like that. Just go in there, just destroy. I mean, in my head, I couldn't even fathom losing going into the fight. And so even when I got cracked and I was kind of in a la-la land, I was still able to function in a state of daze. I was dazed for an entire round. I had a concussion, severe concussion. But I was able to function even when I was hurt. And it was only because they had already, I had so much, knowing that somebody was in your corner of that magnitude. I had you, I had everybody, I had Baker, I had Chop, I had everybody in and so when we fought, we went as a family, and it felt like a family.
Yes, it did. And I'm glad you said that right there. But you said, listen, none of us are perfect. We all made mistakes and gonna keep on making until the day you die. That's just life. But back then, it was a little different. You know what I mean? If I needed any information, McCain would give it to me. Me and McCain was tight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mr. Dave Jacobs, there's a minute a day I walk in the gym and he says, son, you can't cook with cold grease. You got to be hot first.
Oh, that's his saying. That's his saying,
right?
Yes, indeed.
And so Mr. Finley, I never forget, when I first went down there to Mr. Finley's gym, we needed some sparring for Boogie, so we started going down there. He pulled me to the side, and you know how Mr. Finley talked. He said, let me speak to you. And I went over. He said, now, I've been in the sport for over 60 years. And he said, and I have never seen anyone do the things that you do. He said, I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I like you.
Wow.
He said, so therefore, anytime you want to come to my gym, it won't cost you a dime. You can bring the kids, just sign in. And that's where our relationship started, right?
Uh-huh.
So Adrian Davis. Many a day, used to allow me to come into this gym and didn't charge me a dime. Although we had a gym uptown, He never charged me a dime. And I would go in my pocket sometime and say, you know what, here, I appreciate you. You feel me?
Yes, indeed.
And so these are the guys that I had a chance to learn. The first day I ever went to Hillcrest as a coach, never forget, it was so crazy. I had my new coach's jacket on. They had a meeting. I had to go. You know how Hillcrest was. The bleachers rising. You go in that little room where y'all put your clothes on and everything.
Yeah, in the back. Yep.
In the back.
Yep.
And they had a meeting. Well, the week prior to, a kid got sprayed in the face with bleach. Y'all may remember that. You may not. And Gene Hughes, I believe, had the spray bottle. He confused it with just regular water, but it was bleach in it.
Okay.
And so they were back there arguing, and I'll never forget this. This is what really woke me up to this thing. Gene walked in, he was kind of heated, and he had bumped me, like, in other words, like knocked me out the way. Now, of course, a part of me wanted to say something to him, but I had so much respect for these dudes, I didn't think it was my place to even stand up for myself at that time. I took it. Because I didn't feel as though I belonged. But 6 months passed, a year passed, we was winning everything from ground zero. Then I didn't think I belonged, I knew I belonged. And that's where it started at, and so to answer your first part, how did I do it or how do I do it and blah, 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 or motivate people, all praise is due to the Most High. I can't give you that. No man ever taught me. Not that part. You know what I mean? I had mentors like Emmanuel Stewart, Mr. George Washington from New York, trained Kevin Kelly and some more, Tom Johnson. There were people in my life along the way. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Al Green. He was a mentor to me that taught me how to do carpentry. You guys know I had my own construction business. And you know that most of the funding for our squad coming up at that time was done through that business.
Right, I remember that.
So I have I had some positive male influences in my life, along with my mom, that enabled me to do such a thing. That's where it comes from. And I'm passionate about the athlete. So if I see you in trouble, if I think you are in trouble, I'm gonna react to it. When I was younger, of course, coming up in Lincoln, it was a lot to fight for, and people don't understand this when I say this, but it's true. When boxing became a business, I hated it. I hated it because the passion was gone, the love was gone. It was just about business. It was about money. It wasn't real to me anymore. Man, I enjoyed the success, but I hated it.
Wow.
When it was about the trophies, when it was about the ribbons, when it was about the little belts, silver gloves was a big thing. It was a big thing every year that I got a chance to drive down to Augusta, Georgia to see you guys fighting the regionals and things of this nature. I was hyped when we used to go to the silver gloves in Kansas and fight against Cincinnati, and California.
Yes, indeed.
That's when it was fun, man.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? That's when it meant something. Now, you got coaches, a lot of them are parents. Kids lose a fight or have a bad day in the gym. Instead of you putting your arm around them and showing them that and letting them know that it's going to be okay. This is just a moment in time. This is going to pass and better days going to come. We beat them down verbally. We beat them down physically. And you can see it when the kid come back. Now, instead of him boxing his teammate, he's trying to fight him, trying to tear his head off. That's because the seed already been planted in him. We got to get away from that, bro.
Yeah.
We got to get away from this gym hates this gym. This coach hates this coach. These kids can't communicate with one another because these two parents don't get along. It's killing us, man. It's killing us.
And a lot of the young guys got to understand, these young up and coming fighters need to know that composure is everything in boxing.
Yes, it is.
If you lose your composure, you lose the fight.
That's right.
So these parents and these coaches that's teaching these kids this, they already teaching them a defeated mentality.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
No, and not to mention, I'm gonna say this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Emmanuel Stewart and them not here no more. You know, and pretty soon the time will come where Coach B not gonna be here no more. You feel me? And so we like the last of the dying breed. And I'm trying my best to hold on, to pass as much of this knowledge that I have to that next generation, so you'll know how to handle yourself when you go out there. I did my piece. I did my bit. You know what I mean? And I had a wonderful time. You know, I got a chance to meet some of the best of the best. I got a chance to travel all over the world and back again. You know what I mean? And, you know, what can I say? I had a hell of a time. But I know that within the next few years, you know, I got to transition into something else. I'm not going to be that coach that's still like 80 some odd years old trying to hold a miss. You know what I mean? The best thing I could do while my brain is sound is pass whatever knowledge I have on down to that next guy that inspired to be, you know, what we were or better. I'd rather you be better. I'd rather you be better.
Barry, when we came, me and Ray, when we came to Headbangers from when I moved back from Newport News, Virginia, I'm gonna tell you this: when the same energy that we used to have in Hillcrest in the 90s, I felt that same energy at the Headbangers Gym in 2000.
Yes, sir.
I mean, y'all worked just like we worked. The effort was the same, and it was like, even though you and my father were two different people, but y'all had the same spirit. That same spirit was the same. So I couldn't tell the difference between you two while I was training at that time.
Right.
It was the same spirit.
I waited on you. I remember when you turned open. Mm-hmm. We was at Hillcrest. You know, Hakeem was one of the best young boxers that I had ever seen in my life.
Wow.
You know, and and this is true. And I tell him that, and I've told other people that. You know what I mean? That quality of fighter, I like to see again, and I like to see it better. I think we, you know, as a city as a whole, when you think about all the young talent that came through here at one time, just imagine, for just 1 second, just imagine if all of that talent, including you guys, everybody would have just stuck together and put all that talent, regardless where Jimmy was from, all that talent under one umbrella.
The best boxing town in history.
Yeah, just imagine what we could have done. You know what I mean? And that's why I struggle when I hear the garbage I hear about, you know, this gym versus this gym, and he don't like him, and this. When will we learn? You know what I mean? Now, when we came through, when Gary Russell Sr. and myself, we were pretty much the only ones with, you know, left in the city with, you know, that type of junior. Mm-hmm. And y'all know the damage they did all across the country.
Yes, indeed.
Couldn't nobody beat them. You know what I mean? Indeed. And the thing that we learned, not only us two, Nazim Richardson, Virgil Hunter, Mike Stafford, Andre Rozier, Kenny Porter, we all used to communicate and say, hey, who do you have at 126? If they say we got XYZ, okay, we're going to move this one up or move them down. And we used to shift weights like that, so we wouldn't eliminate each other. And then when we go to the Nationals, we'd be the last group standing. That's how we competed against California and the monsters out west.
Yes, indeed. We used to do that with Ricardo Williams, too.
With Ricardo Williams, you knew Tiger Rock. You already knew what it was. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
And so I'm saying that to say, the coaches now, you got to get back to that.
Yes, indeed.
You got to get back to that. I mean, because if you get back to that, you still got time where we can run the tables. We can run the tables.
Yes, indeed.
But you got to put that Larson to the side, put the pettiness to the side, and it's one moment in time, just come together again. You know what I mean? And you can set this world on fire, man. Hey, trust and believe it. I've seen it happen.
You think it's important, though, for not just a fighter, but a coach to kind of have a chip on his shoulder? I mean, because, you know, when you get into the game, you know, you want to kind of make, like how you said how you came in, but you understood that, you know, you had to wait your time, you know. But this is a different era. You think this era has evolved to the point where some coaches or fighters think that, yeah, you know, maybe I need to up the ante because some of these, there are really good coaches out here that don't get the credit that they deserve. You know,
I think that there's a lot of coaches that don't get the credit they deserve. For the most part, on the average, when a fighter get to the TV and fighting for titles and all that, the coach that's there with him is not really the coach that led him there. Oftentimes, I definitely think that the coaches now, you feel me? In my case, like I told you, I had people like Emmanuel, pick the phone up, call, tell me, don't go left, go right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I took that advice because I had so much respect for these people. Me and Rashid was talking earlier when we first started, coming on, before we got on the broadcast. I was telling them Brian Custer, which works for Showtime, was my first mentor when it came to broadcasting. So I had people like that along the way that took time out, to try to help me out. You know what I mean? And anybody that ever come in my gym, y'all know this, to be factual. If you need help, you ask, we give it to you. Just that simple. We don't push you aside or push you away or no stuff like that. We try to help everybody. And a lot of times when you do that, it's a blessing and a curse. Because sometimes it come back and bite you.
Yeah. Damn.
You know what I mean? And you got a lot of people that'll take your help, but don't really appreciate the help that you give them. And you got those coaches out there that sacrifice everything that they were. You know what I mean? And when the fighter wins, it's all the fighter. When the fighter loses, it's the coach's fault. Mm. So how in the hell can you be 30 or 20-0 or something like that there, and all the wins, you take those, but when you take the loss, it's not your loss, it's the coach's loss. You see it all the time. You know what I mean? You can't discount the victories and just hang on to that loss and put it on that. You know what I mean? And so
it goes to what we were talking about before we started recording. We were talking about what's that quote? Victory has defeated you.
Yeah, victory has defeated you. Listen, and what did I say when you said that, Ray? I said I'm one of the ones that's guilty of that. You know what I mean? And we all have tasted that before. When you grinding to get there, you never had it before, so you want it. So you're doing all the necessary things that you have to do in order to achieve that. You feel me? The grind, the sacrifice, the whole nine. When you get that, it's easy to get out of it. It's hard to get out of bed when you get out of bed in silk pajamas and slippers and all that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And excuse my French. But you have to find a way to keep that hunger. Damn near everybody I've ever seen succeed at some point in their career, be it in boxing or whatever it is, you will see that. You know what I mean? And I said, and I just told y'all that I'm guilty of it too. You feel me? You got to find a way to stay hungry, man. You feel me?
Talked about that too.
In order to keep succeeding, you have to find a way to stay hungry. Because the minute that you succeed and you can't handle that and the hunger goes, that is when, to your point, Ray, when the defeat starts.
Exactly. And when you talked about finding a way to win, I think that's how you best described it.
No, that was that commercial I saw was, to me, will forever be etched in my brain. Uh-huh. I heard Ray talking, and Ray is a good friend. He'll call me, just say hi sometime. I'll shoot him, birthdays, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. He was narrating it, and so that's what made me turn to look at it. And there was a actor portraying Ray, and he was going down in the ring. And Ray said that life, somewhere in your life, you're gonna get hit with a blow that you don't even see coming, and it's gonna knock you down. And then while all the people were getting knocked down in this commercial, one dude opened his eyes and took his hand and started to push himself up. And he said, find a way. And that's one of the things I tell the kids all the time, find a way. If you ever been to Colorado Springs and you look at this statue that was a statue of and for athletes that died going to Poland.
I remember
right?
that. I was there. I saw it. Yes, indeed.
Okay, you saw the statue,
yes,
right?
Yes, indeed.
The statue is of a boxer that had got knocked down, and he was struggling to get up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It said, "Down but not out, lost but not forgotten."
Yes, indeed.
You feel me?
You'll never forget it when you go there. You'll remember.
My God, Father! You know, when you go there and you see it, it'll split your wig. It'll blow your mind, especially when you know the history behind it.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and these are the things that I hold dear to me. You know, and whomever is involved in the sport that I feel that I gave so much of myself to. You know what I mean? Many a day, you know, I didn't know how we was gonna get by. I didn't know how we was gonna get to the tournaments. Spent my last dime trying to get there. Kids fighting their behind off, so I thought that they deserved to go, so we were gonna make it happen. You know what I mean? And make it happen, we did. And that is what built that kingdom.
Awesome. Hey man, that was poetic. And again, this is our time, but I appreciate having you out here, man, and sharing your wisdom. Bro, you've been a jewel in the community, and if no one's told you that, I mean, we're telling you that, man. Some of the things you've shared with us, again, I hope you see the fruits of it within us. But again, thank you so much for your contributions to boxing.
Right.
And I thank you as well, brother, man. I known you from day one. You know, we come from the same dirt, from the same area. So and to see you succeed on the level that you did, and to take Lamont Anthony, because, you know, I consider them like my little brothers.
That's right.
And for you to take them to that level and to build that legacy that you built, we succeeded right with you, man. Just watch you succeed. I feel as though we all succeeded just seeing you make it.
No, well, let me say this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Rashid. I just wanted to say to you guys, you know, I appreciate you. I love you. You know, I think I've been consistent in that manner. Lamont Anthony, those are my sons. Love them to death. You know, and in all of us being together, Lamont, Anthony, Boogie, Kia, Tasha, you know, the ones that really were there, you know, when this whole thing kicked off. You know, I got mad love for them. You know, I feel blessed and privileged that I had a chance to even work with them. And I hope and I pray. I hope and I pray that, you know, all the other ones coming along behind them, like them, you know, I hope God continue to bless them also. You know, put aside all the drama, put aside all the jealousy. Everybody in this city, man, needs to just hold on to each other, come together. And I think during this whole COVID-19 thing, it really, really opened my eyes, and it changed me in such a way. And I hope this way is a better way, because it let me know what really was important, man. What really is important. You know, anytime your family members die and you can't bury them, you got to look at them through a glass on a video.
Yeah.
That's heavy, man.
Yes,
you feel me? That's heavy. And I'll say this in closing. I won't say no more. In talking to Boogie brought something up, how long we all had been in this boxing. And we've been in boxing a long time. We've given boxing a lot. We've gotten some from boxing, but we've given boxing a lot. To the point where, as though Ray and Rashid, we forget that there's a whole nother life outside for us, outside of this boxing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You think about it. You know, I think we all need to hug our kids tighter. You know what I mean? Spend more quality time at home.
Yes,
not
indeed.
just with your kids, with your wife, your family in general.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, you know, if I could say anything to the ones coming up, because I know how, you know, their spouses, their girlfriends get on them. You need to spend more time with your own kids. You know what I mean? You need to come home at a decent hour, the whole nine. And you get lost in that shit because you're trying to save the world. And what good is saving the world if you lose yourself and you lose your own?
Yes, indeed.
It's nothing. I mean, so find that balance somewhere in life. You know, love all you can. You know, people that need help the ones that need help. and definitely the ones that appreciate it. And the ones you can't, you got to let go, man. And don't forget to love your own.
Awesome. Thank you again. This concludes our session of DC Boxing. Again, tune in next time. Hopefully we'll have another outstanding guest. Out.